Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So, first thing we're going to do, or technically second thing we're going to do, is I want to kind of highlight some of the main things and the projects and initiatives that have been going on with us currently and kind of what's going on in the future. And so I'd love for you to kind of share with the folks right now what's happening and what you're excited about and passionate about at the moment.
I'll be at lots of things. So I think in the next hour, we're going to have a lot of breaking news. We already did a little behind the scenes with our inner circle. So for those of you that want to be in the inner circle, you got to join. Text me at the info on the screen there, 619-304-3201. Just text number 4 as in 4-year anniversary.
Yep.
And I'm just excited. Lots of big deals, big partners in place, big brand names that you all are going to know and be, I think, a little bit excited about, like I am. And again, our focus is always on bringing accessibility and affordability and pathways for people that are just unheard of. So I'm excited.
Awesome. I know we are too. And just an introduction for me, my name is William Broxton. I'm actually on staff here at Creating Coding Careers as a partnership and client engagement manager. That's the title, but what it means is that I do whatever it takes to make sure that we are successful. That's kind of how we roll here as a team. We have each other's back. And so kind of going through that, we've done our meet and greet. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of the substance that we have today, are there any quick questions that anyone wants to throw out? And also just kind of a meet and greet in the comments. Marcus, I see you. Alfred, thanks for joining. Anyone else?
Great to see Eric. Man, it's been a long journey. I remember a lot of these faces and these names, meeting folks in person at local events, and just like seeing all the potential in folks now 4 years later starting to kind of pay off and starting to see people, a few years out in the industry. And that's exciting. I've been part of, previous code schools and other projects where, you start seeing after a couple of years of being in the program, people coming back as like hiring managers and it's the people that are the decision makers at the job fairs. And you can remember the time where they were sitting on the other side of the table and they were like, applying for the jobs. Now they're screening people for roles. And so I feel like 4 years in, we're starting to kind of get that same sort of happenings for the nonprofit. And it's exciting. It is very exciting.
So good. So, Mike, how did this all get started? Like, what does this come from? This Creating Coding Careers.
Yeah, I mean, this was, I think, a natural evolution of trying to address the concerns that we saw with a lot of the students that would either struggle with the length of an immersive coding bootcamp without the support of a full-time job. So, yeah, they might be able to save up or get family support to go through 16-week program, but then they might spend another 3 months, 4 months searching for a job. And that was just super painful. And so I wanted to figure out, how can we get people a year-long meaningful experience? Because I knew that after they'd been on the job for a year, they were much more employable. And like once they had started at a small, scrappy startup, we'd see, 6 to 8 months, year in, you'd see all these recruiters reaching out to them and saying, hey, we can get you an opportunity at a bigger company. And I was like, well, why should all the startups have to like boot up and like get people started and pour all this energy in and then have them just basically snaked away? Why can't we create an ecosystem where we can be that safe place for people for about a year and then they can transition much more easily into a job? So that's it. That's like the nexus of it.
Yeah.
Started at shout out to Todd and Trey Hunter and I, who started Starters Academy so many years ago, and we basically wanted to give people an opportunity to get some help, get some support, and we want to see if we can take people from mid-level to senior. What we learned along that journey was it was a lot harder to run a program than what we had initially thought. But that made me even more hungry when I had an opportunity to go work at Origin for a couple of years, continue the evolution of trying to help early career folks. And then when Origin closed, started San Diego Code School. San Diego Code School, again, was a great way for me to serve students. But it's still, even though it was like super low tuition, it's only like $2,500 for a boot camp when most boot camps were like $12,000, $15,000, it was still not, in my opinion, what we do today. And today is a much more intensive investment that we make over a short period of time that I think leads to much, much better outcomes. And it's just like so much easier for the students. There's a lot less stress involved when you know you're getting paid every day and you don't have to worry about like where that check is going to cover the rent.
Seriously. Now, I know that I led with, my staff position here, but I started off at creating coding careers as an apprentice. So I can attest to the fact that like the work that's being done, the learning, the growth, and I, I think what's important for people to understand is like, what's this why? And Alfred in the chat asked a really amazing question. Like, what was your why though? Why did you do this? Why is it so important that you wanted to help other individuals get into tech? Like, what was your reason for that?
Well, I don't know if you realize, but you're black
I am. I have been my whole life.
and I'm black.
That's also true.
And I realized a while ago that there weren't enough people that looked like me in a lot of the shops that I was in.
Mm.
And so that's really, I took that personal. I took it like, wait, we are capable of doing this kind of work. And
You had that MJ moment. You took it personally.
yeah. And I was just like, man, we're going to have to change this. And I just think over time it's gotten increasingly frustrating that, we're here and it's just a lot of other barriers that will often make it very challenging for people to set aside the time that they need to gain that foundational skill and then have people that are willing to unlock doors and let people into opportunities. Because I think for a lot of folks, they don't envision black and brown folks, they don't envision women in these roles. So because they don't have that mental picture, we have to create it through getting people into these roles and letting them see more representation out there. So I took it as almost like it was like a responsibility that I have when I got to this point in my career to say, hey, I've got to cut a path forward for more people because otherwise this is not going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. So with that being said and that in mind, like what are the values? What are the core mission statement like of creating coding careers? What are you here to do? What have you been doing?
Sure. So I like to say that we're unlocking the front door into tech through employer-driven earn and learn pathways for people historically underrepresented in tech. So the way we manifest that is through creating ways for companies to invest in talent early on and help them reach some of their diversity goals, but also tap into a lot of just like talent that's underserved, under-resourced, and has the capacity to really make a huge impact within the organization. And I get it's natural that a lot of the focus within large enterprise is they got projects that they got to get done right now. And so the natural tendency is just to keep hiring senior engineers, keep going out there and running gun, poaching talent from your competitors. But there's only so much time that you can do and get away with that versus like when you invest in early career talent. It's kind of like when you got a forest and people just keep clearing the trees and they don't realize that like for every tree you cut, you got to plant. We're out here creating that mechanism for people to plant the trees and have that next sort of growth that's needed for their organizations to sustain long term, bending that cost of human capital downward.
So good. I can imagine that you had a really easy road into becoming a CEO as a black man going into tech. Talk about some of those barriers. Again, this is part two of Alfred's question. Talk about what did it mean for you to actually leave the comfort and the security of working for someone else and like taking this on. Like, what did it actually take? What was the barriers that were involved?
And it's a lot of work, and I think a lot of people think when you get a opportunity to be self-employed that it's like you kind of make your own schedule, kind of do your own thing, and it's
the
like
cush
no,
life, right?
It's not like that at all.
Mm.
It's not like the transition from like working at the office to working from home. It's a completely different transaction or transformation. I would say the other piece that's just challenging is that we know that there's a lot of systemic racism and biases, and it's not easy being a Black-led nonprofit organization. We historically don't get the funding. We don't get the trust is not there from philanthropy to just give us major gifts and let us do what we do really well. Mm. I thought going in naively, I thought I know software engineering. I'll just produce amazing results. And when we produce amazing results, people will support us. And like, that's not actually how it works. It's much more about building relationships and trust with individuals that have no connection to technology. They don't really understand fundamentally what it takes to scale someone up and get them ready. Yeah. And so I would say for the most part, the biggest thing is just making sure that we have an opportunity to get into those rooms and explain to people the impact we're making, the work that we do, and how it impacts certain people, all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
excited for that opportunity for sure.
Like, I know you put in a lot of work to make it to 4 years. It's a big deal. Like what does that impact? What does that milestone actually mean for you? And like, who were some of the folks that helped you get here along the way? Some of those, just to show gratitude, be it attendees or partners. Who were the folks that really kind of helped galvanize you to this point?
Yeah, so a lot of people, behind the scenes that are putting in the work to make sure that this happens. From the very beginning, we had great company supporters, folks over at ServiceNow, for example, Kate or Chris Rogers. I mean, they were looking out from the very beginning. We had some duds. We had some organizations that we can't work with, right? But we had way more people that stepped up and came through in massive ways, right? Shout out to our board, folks on the board like Sharon, Aisha Brown, Cheryl, who have from the very beginning been doing the work behind the scenes to make sure that we can grow an organization, make it sustainable. Customers like New Rocket that from the very beginning were there for us, Pathway Consulting, folks that like Genus, Etta Wilson, these titans in the ServiceNow tech ecosystem that really embraced us and gave us opportunity to have some of those first few contracts that really allowed us to flush out like what is this thing, what does a modern tech apprenticeship look like
Yeah.
when it's not a model that a lot of people are familiar with.
Speaking of which, I know you probably hear this all the time. Aren't apprenticeships just internships? And then how they work?
Nah, man. So it's so different. And it's like when people say that, they'll often walk up and they'll say, "Oh, hey, that's cool that you do internships." And it's like, no, 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 that's not the word I used. And so because there's that lack of like a mental model, it's really challenging for us to get people to understand the most important facets of apprenticeship are things like that this is a permanent job,
Right.
right? The goal at the end of the apprenticeship is to convert them into not just like a journeyman, but like, a mid-level engineer or entry level. So it's not like an internship, which is designed to give someone experience. It's designed to give somebody an opportunity to sort of like test out, is this a good fit? And what is it like to be on the job? This is really designed to be much more about like how do we make sure that we're able to make a commitment from the very beginning that this isn't a trial run. This is
Yeah.
like we're committed to this from the very start.
So, from your experience and what you've seen, like, what are the differences in the outcomes from someone that's going through just as an apprentice too?
In terms of the outcomes for an internship, you usually only get maybe about a third of people that will complete and be converted into a permanent role versus for an apprenticeship where it's closer to like 90-95%.
That's huge.
So yeah, you you need to make sure that you really understand that distinction, right? That it's not the same like uh, low quality outcome, and instead it's a much higher intervention that we're making from the very start. Even if it's like a paid internship compared
Right.
to an apprenticeship, it's like night and day different when you know from the very beginning of the apprenticeship, like this is their job to lose. At the end of this apprenticeship, we're going to be converting this cohort of students because we really want them at the end of this period to be converted and in our organization. That's very different than like, hey, for 3 months, we're going to give the summer kids some work to do and like let them work on a project.
Yeah.
It's just a different really different feel and a different intervention.
Yeah. And listen, if there's any companies out there that are listening that are interested in converting some of those internships into apprentices, you might want to give Mike a call. We can make that happen for you.
Yeah. Especially if you're really looking at like, if you have from a strategic goal perspective, getting your diversity numbers, getting the number of Black and women and Latino in your organization, you are going to want to make sure that you are doing something different.
Yeah.
Because the interns is not where it's at.
So I know you mentioned it earlier, but I know there are a few key like values and principles that drive your organization, that drives creating coding careers. Like what are those?
Oh man, I think the most important three values that we have are resourcefulness, accountability, and diligence.
Mm.
So together, that's rad.
Okay. So you
Now,
got to be rad to work here.
I see you, Etta Wilson, sneaking in the room here. So yeah, I mean, I think if people, and we hope that everybody, when we're selecting them, has those attributes, but if they can really apply them every day, it's going to make it so much easier for them to get to land that first job.
All right. We're going to get into our next portion, but before I go there, because I know no one ever gets a chance to do this for you, like snack balls, right? You have a series of questions that you ask folks.
I do.
Uh-huh. So talk to me. What is your favorite snack? How does that work for you?
That's a good one. I am always down for a Twinkie.
Really?
And it was heartbreaking when they were out for a moment.
I was about to say.
Like, it was gone. I was like, what are we doing?
You like those hard to get vices.
Yeah. And I'm not usually a sweets type, so I don't eat any other kinds of sweets other than it's a sponge cake with like, come on, how can you beat a Twinkie?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at you. All right. So I'll let you off the hook with that one. But yeah, we'd love for you to hear from some other folks besides from just us, and really check out some of the testimonials of the impact that we're making here at Creating Coding Careers.
Yes. So we have prepared some videos. I'm going to play the first one, and then I want to hear you guys' thoughts after you watch this.
Normally, trying to transition out of the military in general is a very difficult process no matter what, but CCC has made it very smooth and phenomenal. Anytime I have an appointment, they're very, very great when it comes to having patience with the military members that go through the skill bridge program. So it's been really great. And then on top of that is they really provide us mentors and leaders to try to civilianize us a little bit, because we're stuck in that military mindset for a very long time.
How did you discover creating coding careers?
I discovered creating coding careers because one thing for sure I knew was that I could not go back to school because of financial reasons. So a 4-year CS degree was totally out of the question. So one day I just happened to Google apprenticeships for tech, and CCC was the first one to pop up, and I just delved into it, trying to see what it was about, how I could get in there. And it just so happened that I was able to make it here.
Can you share your experience transitioning into tech from a non-technical background?
At first, it was very rough. I felt imposter syndrome almost every day. I was always told that no matter how long I am in tech, that feeling will always be there. It's kind of went away a little bit as I'm getting more comfortable with the information that I'm learning and processing. So other than that, the transition has been kind of smooth. The most difficult thing is not knowing anything at all and then trying to dive in.
How did your perception of the tech industry change during your transition?
Well, before, I always thought that anybody who was in the tech industry or anybody who did anything like coding was just like a machine who just typed in code really fast, like they were typing out an essay and things would just happen. But once you get into it, you realize that it's a lot less typing, it's a lot more research and looking things up. So yeah, that was really interesting to learn. You don't have to be like this machine that just like built something and like poof, it's there. There's a lot more that goes into it, and yeah, but it was really cool to just like know the process behind it, and just going through it and learning the process myself is really.
How's your experience so far shaped your future goals?
It really just was it compound? Is that the word? Compounded. Like I had little goals coming in here, little hopes, primarily learning JavaScript. You know what I'm saying? Learning how to read the code, or whatever. But now, I want to do something that can impact the world if I can. With the knowledge and stuff that you guys have taught me.
Do you feel a sense of community at Creating Coding Careers, where you can count on your peers for support?
Yeah, that's one of the things I would say that really surprised me when I first joined the program is how close-knit everybody was. And you could really feel it from like our all-hands meeting first thing in the morning. You know, you really feel like a sense of camaraderie and a sense of like, okay, this might be hard and it's challenging, but you're not doing it alone. And it's not like you're just sitting on an island and trying to figure it out yourself. You have people that you can turn to. Whenever I get stuck, I can always turn to Alfred or Marcus or Mike Lane, and they're always there to answer the call and help me out. So it's been amazing.
Listen, we love to see it. Love to hear it. All right, give me your thoughts. What were your takeaways from the video? I know some folks might be noticing and see themselves in there. You did a great job. Thank you for sharing your stories, but I'd love to see it in the comments, just your questions, feedbacks, thoughts on it. Um, Mike, what is it like for you, being 4 years in and hearing those stories coming up over and over again of people talking about their experiences and their success?
Oh man, if anybody has ever been started a startup or a nonprofit, you know how it's a roller coaster and you got a lot of days where they're not fun. But the thing that keeps me my head above the water and keeps me moving forward is when I hear the stories of the lives that are being changed and like just a massive impact that not just my work, but everybody else's work and the partnerships create. And without that, I would not be able to do this work.
Yeah.
So I appreciate people giving their testimony about what this experience has been like for them.
Yeah.
And to all of you that are out there and that you feel like you want to see more of this and want to see us be successful in our 5th year of operation, then it really does make a huge impact when you're able to share your journey, because at the very least, it gives somebody else that's out there that idea that they too can become one day a software engineer or cloud engineer or AI engineer. And like without that representation, I think a lot of people just aren't aware. They just don't know.
Agreed. All right, we want to take some time now to talk about the entirety of this journey, right? So if you could share with us like the timeline from, hey, I've got this idea, thinking about this, this concept of how I can help and make impact and change, to, okay, I'm sitting here 4 years later. Like what did that look like in regards to some of the major milestones and your accomplishments along the way?
Yeah, I mean, I think it wouldn't be fair to not go all the way back to at least like the tail end of the journey at Origin Academy, because I feel like that shaped so much of like my thought about, is this even something I want to do, right? Because Origin, for those folks that don't know, that was started by Jeff Winkler, so shout out to Jeff. He came out to California with a dream of, he had gone through a terrible boot camp experience, and he was like, I gotta be able to do better than what I went through, because they didn't even teach me that there was going to be a technical interview or what that would even mean. And I was like, ooh, that's not good. So, he eventually convinced me to go to work for him and work at the school for a couple of years. And then through just a massive series of unfortunate events and government bureaucracy, Origin closed. And I remember that last weekend where Jeff and I were in the office, and we were overlooking the ballpark in this big high rise, and we're like, all right, I guess packing up the final boxes and laying ourselves off, and deciding how we were going to teach out the last session. And I had to ride a double century the next day. For those of you that aren't familiar, double century is 200 miles. It's a 19-mile bike ride, and I've been training for it for like 6 months.
Wow.
So it's the next morning, and I wake up. It's the crack of dawn. It is still super dark outside.
Wait a minute, time out. How long?
19 hours. I mean, if I'm doing good, I can get it done like 18 maybe, right? But yeah, so it's a long day. It's an ultra distance type event. It's like an ultra marathon. Think of it kind of like Ironman, but just a bike.
See, I knew you weren't a normal person. That makes so much sense. Okay.
So I wake up super early in the morning, tired, wipe the sleep out of my eyes, get my bike prepped, get ready to go, get out there on the course. And it gave me, for the next 19 hours, it gave me a way to sort of like meditate and focus and obviously compete and get through the event. But 19 hours is a long time. And
Yeah,
that gave
it is.
me enough time to really think through what my next move was going to be. And all the ways I was kind of playing out, like, okay, how could I create something that would not fall into the same category of the challenges that Origin faced, something that could help students be more affordable. So that, in essence, became the birth of San Diego Code School. So ran San Diego Code School for a couple of years, making what I think is a phenomenal impact by offering a really affordable opportunity for people to learn web development over the course of the same kind of period, 16 weeks. It was full time, but what I try to do is accommodate people working in the weekends and the evenings and sort of like adjusting this class schedule so people could get a good 30, 35 hours worth of time in the classroom. And we basically said you could take the course, and I could pick 8 players because now it was my school. So I could say, I only want to accept people that want to make a commitment to work part-time and study full-time.
Yeah.
And for the people that could, it was a great fit. But that still didn't solve for the people that like they had to work 2 part-time jobs or they're working a full-time job they couldn't quit. And so I continued to think over those 2 years about how could we create a pathway for people that otherwise would not be able to afford to go full-time, that could not afford to work part-time and create this change in their future. So the idea came that, well, what if there's a way for us to hire students, give them 1 year of training and support, a job, and then help them transition into permanent roles? And that was sort of the idea behind creating coding careers. And that happened in like 2019, right? 2019, we started, kicked off that portion of, hey, now that we have a few students, and I remember the first few students that we had that finished the coding bootcamp, they finished San Diego Code School, and we're like, hey, we're starting this apprenticeship program. Would you like to be part of that? And they took a huge risk because we're a startup. So like we hired the first few people. There was no guarantee those people were going to get jobs, like beyond working for us. So we sustained it by getting jobs to give them work. We started by doing projects. So we took on some project-based work. We had some amazing, phenomenal partners early on. Genus, New Rocket, CDW came along at some point. And then we had other corporate partners. Some of them were duds, like I said before. Like you're not going to hit, I want to be realistic, you're not going to hit them all out of the park. But we did our best to make sure that we were providing all of the sales that we needed to drive getting more partners into our ecosystem, right? Like that was the big deal. It was like, how do we get enough people that I can keep hiring? Because as soon as hiring slowed down, so that happened about, a year ago, hiring started to slow down and we started to consider like, okay, what's the next step? And are we going to be able to continue to fulfill this pathway for people if the economy stays in the mode that it's in right now?
Exactly.
And that sort of shifted us to then think about, okay, well, what are some other programs that we might be able to leverage that would help people? And so we started with the Skill Bridge program, right? We got approval from the Department of Defense to start training, transitioning service members, right? And we're like, okay, this will kind of be another pathway that we can work alongside of the apprenticeship program or combine with the apprenticeship program to provide more opportunities for more people. And it would enable us to have some of those attributes of the individuals, like top secret clearances and lots more work experience, that would make it easier for us to get certain employers the talent that they were looking for, right? And again, being able to sort of like have a higher volume based on having people that met other kinds of like needs of businesses. So we started the Skill Bridge program. Then shortly after the Skill Bridge program, we got a pre-apprenticeship program approved. And so that's an opportunity for people to, if they have no technical background whatsoever, if they're looking to transition into an apprenticeship program, get a lot of that experience that's necessary for them to be successful over that like 1 year process. So those, I think, were the big things. I think the things that we look forward to, I can cover, maybe I'll cover in just a little bit. Do we have any questions? I see one down here towards the bottom. Can you share some tips on dealing with that ultimate hater, imposter syndrome? Oh, I thought you were talking about a real person. You're about to throw some shade. Imposter syndrome is a tough one because I tend to think that it's one that lingers for a while, and it's not something that's going to be solved in the short term. it's something that gets solved when you just kind of, persistently chip away with it, with things that build your confidence.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is experience, right? The more experience you get, the more confident you're going to be, and that kind of helps push aside some of the imposter syndrome.
I would say eventually you learn to stop listening to liars. And that imposter syndrome is it. It's a liar. It's not true.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like for a lot of folks, they're not used to the amount of like mental fortitude it's going to take for them to be successful in this space. This is the most challenging thing that they've ever done. I've ridden a bike for 19 miles and done it several times, did it 5 times in 1 year. So I've had more practice at that discipline, right? Of like just sustaining the pain over a really long period of time and learning how to just like work through it.
So what you're saying is that everyone should go out and ride a bike for 19 hours to get clarity on life. And
Man, the first one you do, you're going to be addicted. I mean, people tell you like you're like it's crazy, but the first double century you do, you're like, when am I going to do the next 2 so you can get that triple crown? Then when you do 3 in a year, you're going to want to do 5 so you can get that next jersey. Believe it or not, we do it all for just a jersey. That's it. That's all you get.
I love it. That's how you know it's actually something.
Yeah, bragging rights,
right?
You get a jersey with bragging rights.
All right. So, what I really want to talk about, like now, so we've talked about the journey, and we talked about a lot of like what it took to get here, almost from like a just a historical standpoint. What about for you? Like, what have you grown, and what processes, what things have kind of like come out of this for you that you've been able to kind of like see and acknowledge, and how have you grown because of taking on this mantle and this trajectory?
Yeah. I mean, I've had to make some significant changes. So first of all, I'm a lot more patient, like because the timeline by which opportunities come our way is not the timeline that I would choose, but instead everything just takes longer.
Yeah.
So I've had to learn to sort of like absorb the fact that things aren't going to work on like the logic and the software engineering side of things. If we do really well and we create amazing outcomes, that doesn't mean anybody knows about it. You got to do the marketing part. You got to do the telling the story part. So a lot of those skills that I didn't have as a software engineer or a principal software engineer are ones I've had to adapt to allow our organization to grow and surround ourselves with people, great people that have some of these skills.
Got it. Hold on, give me just a second. Okay. So what I want to know is, what do you see as what's next? What's the teaser for what are you thinking about or dreaming about? What are some areas you feel that um, creating coding careers can make some impact that we haven't quite gotten to yet?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I don't want to give away all of it because I definitely want to make sure that we stay on our calendar for sharing with people what's officially happening.
Mm-hmm.
But at a high level, I think the most important thing to share with folks is that we want to try and take what we've now been able to prove out in a small pilot phase and do it at a much larger scale. So we've gotten lots of success here in California. So we want to move into a lot more regions across the country and provide the same kind of opportunity, not just here in California, but all the way on the East Coast. We've got some target cities. We've been working for a while with Blackstone Tech to sort of lay the foundation for Minneapolis, Atlanta, Boston, Los Angeles. And so we feel like there's a great opportunity for us to move into those spaces. There's tons of talent in each of those cities and ecosystems. So scale, I think, is the biggest motivator for me. And as with everything that's like, growing, we want to grow responsibly and make sure we don't get out ahead of ourselves and be in a situation where we just can't provide the, you can talk, but we want to be able to walk the walk and not just talk about, expanding and growing.
So now that you've kind of outlined like a larger vision about being able to go into scale, like what do we need to get there?
Ooh,
How do
that's a great
people partner
question.
with us in order to get us to that place?
So we definitely need more capital. So for folks that know foundations, workforce investment boards, folks that are looking to make uh, changes to their local ecosystem and drive high wage, high growth jobs, we are a safe place for people to come to for that solution.
Yeah.
Right? We can turn an investment into great jobs that are going to grow local economies. Right? We're working with a few folks right now to hammer out details on that. So we'll soon be in Escondido, California, and Prince George, Maryland, with some new opportunities that have been created by workforce development boards, looking at this and making an investment and saying we want to invest in opportunity. I think from a corporate standpoint, we're always looking to bring on more corporate partners that, again, are taking a serious look at their diversity, equity, and inclusion strategies and looking for mechanisms and tactics that they can use to actually create change within the organization, right? To drive an increase in the number of diverse folks in their engineering roles, right? Not just how many Black people do you have on your technology side of the business,
Right.
but how many are engineers on your engineering teams? And we can facilitate that happening, and we can do it at scale. So those are the partners that we're looking for primarily, folks that are looking to make impact in their organizations or in their communities. That said, obviously we want as many participants and as many students as possible, but we always know that we're going to have to offer maybe a different pathway. We can't do apprenticeships at the same scale that we can do early career training or support. So I think it's going to be a tight balancing act for us to grow the number of opportunities that we can in apprenticeships while also creating opportunities for people where apprenticeship isn't the right fit because there's just not employers that are ready to make that the decision to hire people right away.
Right.
Which, to be clear, for an individual, what that means is we can't do this as a done for you service as much as we can do this as a done with you service for everybody. We can do it done for you for a small portion. We can do it done with you for a large portion of people. And we can give you all the tools and all the support that you need for you to be able to go out there and find mentors and find job opportunities and gain the skill that you need. And we can do all that at a huge scale, a much larger scale than we can do the, hey, we're doing it all. Even for companies, for the companies that we support, we do a lot of this like white glove service that for a company, it looks very simple, very attractive.
Yeah.
But we can't do that at scale. And so we need more companies that are willing to partner and say, hey, we'll take on hiring some of these apprentices from the very beginning. Because in most situations, we're the employer of record. So for folks that are asking, like, well, why is it hard to get into the apprenticeship program? Because we're making a significant investment when we hire someone and then we're on the hook. They're our employee and we're not going to just let them go. We're going to have them for a year. So we have to make sure that we can bring in enough business to support a year's worth of wages, right? And at the end of the year, get them into a job so that at the end of the year, we can maintain 90 plus placement rate. That's a very difficult challenge that keeps me up at night every night, right? Making sure we can bring people in and get them jobs, because without that, this whole thing falls apart.
Yeah. But again, like that's the North Star. And that's the reason why you have had the success that you had, the reason why creating coding careers and making the impact. So just to kind of recap, this is what I heard, right? If you are a company or a foundation, there are active ways that you can get involved to make sure that this work continues into the next 4, 15, 20, 35 years, right? It is being intentional about who you hire, who you bring on, and who you partner with in order to get on new talent, directional wise, and also being very strategic with where you put your money and your resources. And strategically, I'm just saying, we're here doing the work. I would love for that continual process and for you to be involved with us here in that way. So,
all right, but that's it. Let's tell some more stories.
Yeah.
Let's show some more journeys.
Looking back, what were some of the pivotal moments or milestones during your apprenticeship?
I would say the biggest milestone was getting into the apprenticeship. That was probably one of like the happiest days of my life, just because at that point, I didn't have a job. I didn't really know what my future was looking like. I had gone through the coding boot camp, but I don't feel like that was enough to get me to like get the door open for me. And so, like at that point in life, I was kind of very lost. And then once I got into the apprenticeship, that kind of helped settle things down and gave me a real path to where I wanted to go.
How has the apprenticeship helped you shape your long-term goals?
I feel that from the apprenticeship, I was able to learn what aspects of a tech role I wanted to incorporate into my career. So I know that I wanted to continue doing something in a more technical capacity. So, working with data, but I also learned that, I wanted to work as a project manager. So, I've merged those two together, and now I'm working as a data project manager.
How did your perception of the tech industry change through your transition into tech?
My perception of the tech industry changed when the second month I got in CCC, when I was still doing the pre-apprenticeship program. I started doing research on the statistics on how many people have a degree in tech versus how many people don't have a degree. And that right there kind of eased me, because I was like, I'm not trying to be a follower, but hence if I don't have a degree, it seems like I am able to get a tech job if I work my butt off to get it. So.
Did you feel a sense of community where you can rely on your instructors and peers?
That was honestly the biggest part of the apprenticeship that I liked the most, was the community. I mean, every morning we had a group meeting, we had a code challenge that we did collaboratively. And then after that, we all stayed in contact throughout the day or throughout the weeks just to keep updates on our tasks or, what project we're working on now. And I think that really kept me engaged.
What were some of the key skills or knowledge areas you acquired during the boot camp?
I think the thing that I really kind of hold is the ability to learn. I think that is the key thing in this industry, because languages, frameworks, they become out of date very fast, but that ability to keep learning is really important in this field, because you will be faced with situations where you don't know what that is and you have to figure it out in a day or two. So I think that's the biggest thing. React obviously helped me get my career in JavaScript especially, but I think that ability to learn is my key factor from all of this.
In retrospect, what would you have done differently during your transition or in the apprenticeship?
If I can go back, I would spend more time networking. I feel like that played a huge role in this tech community. It's not what you know, but who you know.
Listen, every time we go through and get a chance to hear stories and hear that, like, the impact, it's a reminder of just how much work is being done. And again, would love to hear in the comment section just to kind of your feedback, your thoughts. And I think now as we get ready to kind of get ready to wrap up a bit, I think, Mike, I'd love the opportunity for you to really share out and highlight some upcoming projects, some partnerships, and some initiatives that are like right here on the cusp, like kind of the excitement for where we're building today.
So I am super excited to announce that we have partnered with Pearson VUE, and we are going to be launching what we're calling advanced technology pathways. So these will be opportunities for people that may want a career in tech, but we just don't have the space in the apprenticeship mode. And this is where I'm talking about us hand-holding and providing resources for people to not only get industry recognized certifications, but also get the hands-on experience needed to make that transition into a role in either cloud or AI engineering. Those will be our first two. And then very quickly, we're going to roll out cybersecurity, data, and I'm missing one more. We talked about network engineer. So we got a lot.
Yeah.
It's so we've been behind the scenes, we've been signing the contracts. My approach was, rather than us trying to internally build out a lot of curriculum, partnering with folks that are best in class, offering training from names that you're going to know and recognize. And I've got a few that we don't have a signature yet on the contract, so I can't announce them.
Okay.
But I can tell you that these folks are well known across the board. We got some top tier folks that specialize in interview strategy for FANG companies, for algorithms and data structures training. All of the pieces that I feel like they've done it better than I could. And so we're trying to bring them together and create pathways that we can help people, again, handhold down the pathway and get the shortest trip with the least amount of pain into a career. So that's the first. Super excited about the Pearson View and some of the other ones that we're going to have coming online just after that.
That's the first. That one alone is a really big deal.
Yeah, that's major.
Yeah.
But there's more. So I think a lot of people have heard of ServiceNow and their Rise Up program. So we've been partnering kind of behind the scenes with them in a couple of different ways. A lot of folks might not know, but we actually have an apprenticeship over on the ServiceNow engineering side. We've, for the last couple of years, been providing apprentice candidates opportunities with ServiceNow. They have then translated and gotten full-time roles as engineers on the team. So this isn't like working on the front end on a module like HR. This is building something like HR, or building something that like makes the whole mechanics work, right? Platform type roles. So we've been doing that for a while and strengthen our relationship enough now with the next gen team where we're going to be providing TAs. So there's opportunity for people that are already skilled in the ServiceNow ecosystem. Hit us up. We've got some TA opportunities that they're going to allow us to fill. We've got some instructor opportunities that they're going to allow us to fill. So again, we'll be working directly with the next gen team to supply TAs. And then finally, we're going to be helping them to not only drive participants to go through their new hybrid program that they're launching. Cohorts will start next month. Part-time program in the evening should create lots of opportunities for people that are working full-time to dip their toe in the water and then go all in, but do it in a way where they can still manage their day-to-day, keeping a roof over their head, keeping the paycheck coming until they can make that transition permanently into ServiceNow. So again, this is the first time they've ever run this hybrid version of the next gen program, sort of an evening time schedule where there's going to be instructors, going to be TAs. I know they're going to be good because we're going to be sourcing some of them. So you're going to have really talented people helping to teach people the fundamentals of the platform. And then in the spring, as people roll out these programs, we're going to be partnering to help get some of these folks placed. Some of them will come into apprenticeships. We're working on an apprenticeship opportunity there. We have also partnered with them so that if individuals go through this training with ServiceNow, we will provide credit in our pre-apprenticeship program. Wow. So you won't have to go through the ServiceNow training and then a pre-apprenticeship program and then into an apprenticeship program. You'll be able to take care of that pre-apprenticeship and the ServiceNow training together at the same time over the course of the next couple months. I believe there are 10-week cohorts. And so there'll be several opportunities for you to start in, I'd say, about 2 weeks, I think is the first one. And then every couple weeks, they'll be offering another cohort up until about mid-October. So September to October is when they start, and they'll take you through the last quarter of the year. And then, like I said, we're just excited to be able to partner so that we'll have a dual enrollment. Folks won't have to go through a separate pre-apprenticeship with us. We'll just be able to give them that credit. And then some number of those individuals will be able to be moved into an apprenticeship program. Again, we're just excited to be, partnering with both ServiceNow and Pearson View to create these opportunities for folks.
Tracy, I see you in the comments. Know it's an honor for us. We're excited and we're already running. So we are, those are two very big, trajectories to kind of build out and to move. And honestly, I feel like there are so many different ways to get involved depending on where folks happen to be on their journey. If you're looking to become more developed, you can actually look into the program itself. If you're looking into being a TA or an instructor, there's ways and avenues to get involved there. This is a big major milestone for a 4-year-old company. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I would not have imagined that we'd be where we're at today in just 4 years. And it's humbling to have so many people come together and support us. I know a lot of people see me as the sort of front person for the organization, but there's a lot of folks like Will and Yashma and Alex and Deontay that every day are creating the opportunity for people. It could not just be done if it were just Mike trying to run around and do all these things. So I am just honored and privileged to be surrounded by people that work so hard to create opportunities for other people, to work with amazing partners, like shout out to Tracy Miller over at the Next Gen. I mean, folks that really get it, that want to create opportunities for people. And it's not a dog and pony show. It's a, how do we create the right environment to support folks? How do we really, really carefully ensure that we're not just like throwing training out there and don't have opportunities for people on the other side, but like building that bridge, which is not just here's the training, take the test, pass the certificate, but like here's the practical hands-on experience that you need, and here's how we connect you with employers. More to come on that. We have some really, really amazing stuff that we're working on behind the scenes to create a marketplace for early career talent so that we can vet people and help share with the greater community, with customers, for example. Here are people that have these skills, and you should at least look at these early career people if you're looking for project-based work or you're looking for contract-based work. So we're working on that. More to come on that. And if we've talked about, we've teased it a little bit before, but if that's something that's of interest to you, stay tuned, jump into my SMS, and get into the inner circle so you can be one of the first to learn when that system goes live, and you'll have the opportunity to put yourself into a position where you can do maybe some freelance work, right? And earn while you're actually getting the rest of the skills that you need.
So good. Listen, I know we've only got a couple minutes left, so I'm going to do two things in particular. One, there is our producer's on it. Yashima, I see you. Thank you. There's a special list of thanks that we want to go through that I want to make sure that we acknowledge, like, for all of their help and support. And I don't know if you want me to go through it or if you want to say a shout out. I feel like your voice is more impactful. You know.
Yeah, I need the list though. Where's the list?
Let's see. It is in our chat together. I got you. So,
all right. Wait.
Yeah.
I don't see it there. Okay, hang on. One more place. Let me look in one more place. Special thanks. Here we go. Shout out once again to ServiceNow. Huge supporter. We can't say enough good things about the organization, from an amazing platform that enables all these massive organizations to be so much more productive and hit goals. But just everybody there is just cool and good people.
It's true.
And it's rare that you encounter an organization that does a good enough job making sure that their culture is like it's real.
Yeah.
They're good people. Shout out to her, the whole team, Kate, everybody on the Next Gen team, John. And next, as always, Todd and Nathan Firth over at New Rocket. Again, incredible partners. The folks at Beck and Dickinson, especially big shout out to Joe Seymour. Without Joe, we would not have had the growth that we had in that second year. Ton of growth. Pearson VUE, they've been amazing. Thank you so much for trusting in us that we can deliver the content and the materials. Shout out to Google. Appreciate you, the donation and the funds that they've allowed us to handle in the last, I think we got some help about 6 months ago, and it's been great working with Goody Nation. So shout out to Goody Nation and Google for, again, providing much needed, not only resources and support, but they're on it. Those folks over there are great supporters for nonprofits. Shout out to BioP2P, shout out to Genus and Pathways, folks that have trusted us with their business. Again, a lot of folks don't realize that we are non-traditional in that most of the revenue that we have earned, we've earned through business.
Yeah.
And what I'd love to see is now in year 4, as we go into year 5, I'd love to see us do a better job of storytelling so we can get philanthropy on board, so we can get philanthropy to match what businesses have stepped up and been able to provide. But that's on us. I get to take ownership of, I've got to make sure we're getting in the right rooms and we're creating an opportunity for us to, let our story be known. Because without knowing about it, San Diego Foundation, until we sit down and we talk and we chop it up, they're not going to know what we do. The previous foundation, the Price Foundation, right? So I'm looking for those opportunities. If anybody out there knows somebody on one of those boards and can allow us to share our story, I would be grateful for the opportunity to let them know the work that we're doing. Shout out to San Diego Workforce Partners, our local workforce development board. They've done a lot of work to open up opportunities for us to use public funding and resources that are available for us to support workforce development. Shout out to Dell and Microsoft, who just recently spent all day pro bono workshops for us to talk about, our messaging and how we can get crisper, letting people know, what's going on. Phenomenal folks there at both Dell nonprofits and Microsoft nonprofits. So again, I just feel so much joy that we're where we are today. We've helped as many people as we've helped, and I look forward to another year of, I think, massive growth in the number of opportunities and the way we can scale opportunities for folks. I'm excited, very optimistic, and thankful.
Seriously. One last thing. For the folks that have actually come to the program, who've been participants, who are apprentices and moved on to success, how can they contribute and give back? What does that look like for them?
Ooh. We've talked about an alumni network, and man, we're just busy. Yeah. And so for those of you that are alumni that are out there, are like, how can I contribute? What can I do? I would love for someone within that alumni network to grab the reins and be like, hey, I want to pull the community together. So I might make that ask to a few folks in the building today. But yeah, I think it's just we're a small, tight-knit group of people that are just hyper focused on the people that we're serving right in front of us. And I think it would be amazing if the alumni were able to sort of create some mechanism for them to be able to contribute to paying it forward to the next person. At the very least, I'd say alumni, when we reach out to you, if you can make yourself available for Deontay and Alex and Yashmai and Will to do interviews and to make financial contributions, right? If you can make a regular recurring small dollar donation, we want to create all of those pathways. So that's coming. That is coming.
Perfect. And yes, Amanda, there is a Discord.
Yes.
We
have Discord.
So yes. Listen, we'll make sure to, if you know, you know. So to be a part of the community and what we're doing later, you see our happy 4-year anniversary is here. Please text the number 4 to the number below, the 619-304-3201, and we'll give you updates on all the developments that are going forward. Just want to take this time to say, again, thank you for spending your time with us. We're excited about this past 4 years and can't wait for another 4, 10, 15, 45, whatever it looks like. Mike, close us out.
Yeah, thanks so much. Again, thank you for everyone that's shown your love and support over this time period. Without it, this would not be possible. Thank you.
Take care.